You don't belong in this seat, and quite frankly, you don't belong in this cabin." Those were the words that echoed through the first-class cabin of Flight 492, freezing everyone in their tracks. It wasn't just a seat dispute, it was a power play. On a rainy Tuesday at JFK, Beatrice Vandermeer, a woman who thought her last name was a get-out-of-jail-free card, made the mistake of stealing the seat of Nia Sterling. She thought Nora was a nobody. She thought she could bully her way to comfort. She didn't know that by the time the seatbelt sign turned off, her life would be in ruins, the flight would be grounded, and the woman she insulted would hold the keys to her destruction. Watch until the end, because the karma that hits this passenger is absolute, brutal perfection. The rain at JFK International Airport was relentless, hammering against the reinforced glass of the terminal like a warning. Nia Sterling adjusted the collar of her beige cashmere trench coat, her thumb brushing the handle of her vintage leather carry-on. She was exhausted. As the CEO of Sterling Apex Logistics, a company that had just quietly acquired a massive share of European cargo routes, Nia had spent the last 72 hours in boardrooms that smelled of stale coffee and aggressive negotiation. She wasn't wearing her title today. She was wearing leggings, expensive loafers, and a messy bun. She looked like a tired traveler, not a woman whose signature moved markets. All she wanted was a glass of champagne and silence. She had booked seat 1A on Flight 492 to London, specifically for the privacy. It was the bulkhead window seat, no one reclining in front of you, maximum legroom, and a barrier from the galley. "Welcome aboard, Miss Sterling," the gate agent had beamed, scanning her boarding pass. "We have you in 1A. Thank you for your loyalty." Nia smiled, a genuine, tired smile. "Thank you, Brenda." She walked down the jet bridge, the cool air of the aircraft hitting her face. She turned left into the first-class cabin. It was the new configuration, lay-flat pods with sliding privacy doors. It was supposed to be her sanctuary. But as she approached row 1, she stopped. There was a woman in seat 1A. She was a woman who demanded to be looked at. She wore a bright canary-yellow blazer with oversized gold buttons, her blonde hair coiffed into a helmet of hairspray that defied gravity. She was already settled in, shoes off, feet resting on the ottoman, sipping a pre-departure mimosa. Her bag, a flashy designer tote covered in logos, was occupying the seat next to her, seat 1B, effectively claiming the entire row. Nia checked her ticket. 1A, Nia Sterling. She took a breath. She dealt with hostile takeovers for a living. She could handle a seat mix-up. "Excuse me," Nia said softly, stepping into the small aisle space. The woman in yellow didn't look up. She was aggressively scrolling on her phone, her acrylic nails clicking loudly against the screen. "Excuse me," Nia said again, slightly louder. The woman lowered her phone slowly, peering over the rim of her oversized sunglasses. Her eyes were icy blue and filled with instant dismissal. "The lavatory is back that way, behind row 4. Economy boarding is through the second door." Nia didn't blink. "I'm not looking for the lavatory. You're in my seat." The woman let out a short, sharp laugh, like a bark. She looked Nia up and down, her gaze lingering on Nia's comfortable leggings and lack of visible jewelry. Nia never wore jewelry when she traveled. It was a security hassle and a theft risk. "I hardly think so," the woman sneered. "This is first class. 1A. The manifest must have been wrong if you think you're sitting here. Now please, move along. You're blocking the air." "I have my boarding pass right here," Nia said, holding out her phone. "Seat 1A. Nia Sterling. If you're in 1A, there's been a double booking. But judging by the fact that seat 1B is empty, I'm guessing you're in the wrong row." The woman, Beatrice Vandermeer, though Naya didn't know her name yet, snapped her fingers. She didn't snap them at Naya. She snapped them into the air, summoning a flight attendant like one would summon a dog. "Attendant!" Beatrice shouted. "Attendant! There is a situation!" A flustered flight attendant, a young woman whose name tag read Chloe, rushed over. She looked terrified. This flight was already delayed by 30 minutes due to the weather, and the stress was palpable. "Yes, ma'am? Is there a problem?" Chloe asked, glancing nervously between Naya and Beatrice. "This person," Beatrice gestured vaguely at Naya with her champagne flute, sloshing a little onto the floor, "is harassing me. She claims she has this seat. Tell her to go back to row 30 where she belongs, so I can relax." Chloe looked at Naya. Nia held up her phone calmly. "I'm Naya Sterling. I have seat 1A. I believe this passenger is mistaken." Chloe squinted at Nia's phone, then looked at her tablet. Her face went pale. She looked at Beatrice. "Ma'am," Chloe said to Beatrice, her voice trembling slightly. "May I see your boarding pass, please?" "This is ridiculous," Beatrice huffed. "I am a Platinum Sky member. My husband is Preston Vandermeer. Do you know who that is? He practically built this airport." "I still need to see your boarding pass, Mrs. Vandermeer," Chloe pressed. With a dramatic groan, Beatrice dug into her bag and produced a crumpled paper ticket. She shoved it at Chloe. Chloe scanned it. "Mrs. Vandermeer, this ticket is for seat 4D. That's an aisle seat in the last row of first class. This is seat 1A. You are in Ms. Sterling's seat." Nia stepped forward, expecting the woman to gather her things. "Thank you, Chloe." But Beatrice didn't move. Instead, she crossed her arms and settled deeper into the leather. "No," Beatrice said. The cabin went silent. The other passengers, businessmen in suits, a celebrity in 2A hiding under a hoodie, stopped what they were doing to watch. "Excuse me?" Nia asked. "I said no," Beatrice stated, her voice dripping with entitlement. "I am comfortable. My legs are already elevated. I have a condition, sciatica, and I need the bulkhead. You," she pointed a manicured finger at Nia, "are young and clearly able-bodied. You take 4D. It's the same cabin. It doesn't make a difference to you." "It makes a difference because it's the seat I paid for," Nia said, her voice dropping an octave. The temperature in the cabin seemed to drop with it. "And I am not switching." "Well, I'm not moving," Beatrice smirked, taking another sip of her mimosa. "So go sit down, or get off the plane." Nia Sterling had built a billion-dollar empire by knowing when to push and when to let the enemy expose their own throat. She looked at Chloe. The flight attendant was paralyzed. "Chloe," Nia said calmly, "I would like to sit in my assigned seat. Please facilitate this." Chloe swallowed hard. She leaned down to Beatrice. "Ma'am, you have to move. You are in a assigned seat that belongs to another passenger. Federal regulations require you to sit in your assigned seat for takeoff." Beatrice slammed her glass down on the tray table. Glass shattered. The stem snapped, sending orange juice and champagne splashing onto the pristine grey carpet and splattering onto Nia's loafers. "Look what you made me do," Beatrice shrieked. "You incompetent girl, and you!" She turned her rage on Nia. "You come in here with your cheap hair and your aggressive attitude and ruin my flight. Do you know how much my husband paid for this ticket?" "I don't care about your husband," Nia said, looking down at her ruined shoes. "And you just destroyed property." "I will buy this airline and fire you both," Beatrice yelled. She stood up, looming over Nia. Beatrice was tall, but Nia stood her ground, unmoving. "You want this seat? You can't afford this seat. I bet you used miles. Or maybe you're an employee pass rider. That's it, isn't it? You're some diversity hire upgrade." The racism wasn't even subtle. It hung in the air, ugly and sharp. From across the aisle, The man in the hoodie, seat 2A, took off his headphones. "Hey, lady," he said, his voice rough. "That's out of line. Move your seat." "Mind your business," Beatrice snapped at him. "This concerns paying customers, not the riff-raff." Chloe pressed the call button for the purser. "I'm calling the flight service manager. Please, Mrs. Vandermeer, sit down or move to your assigned seat." "I am sitting down." Beatrice sat back down in 1A, buckling the seatbelt defiantly. "I am not moving for her. If she wants to fly first class, she can take my seat in the back. Otherwise, she can go to coach. I'm sure she'll feel more at home there." The insults were becoming performative now. Beatrice was playing to an audience she thought was on her side. She assumed the white businessmen in the cabin would support her against the black woman in leggings. She was wrong. The flight service manager, a stern woman named Martha with 30 years of flying experience, marched up from the galley. She took in the shattered glass, the orange juice stain, and the defiance on Beatrice's face. "What is going on here?" Martha demanded. "She attacked me." Beatrice lied instantly, pointing at Nia. "She threw my drink. She's demanding my seat. I'm terrified." Nia didn't interrupt. She simply pulled out her phone and tapped the screen. She wasn't recording a video. She was sending a text. To David Chen, Chief Operations Officer, Sterling Apex. Message: Flag Flight 492. Tail number N884AA. Breach of contract pending. Get legal on standby. She slipped the phone back into her pocket. "Martha?" Nia said, reading the manager's name tag. "I am Nia Sterling. Seat 1A. This passenger has refused to move, destroyed airline property, and used racially derogatory language. I am asking you one last time to enforce the rules of carriage." Martha looked at Beatrice. "Mrs. Vandermeer, is this true?" "She's lying," Beatrice cried, squeezing out fake tears. "I have a medical condition. I need the legroom. Why are you all attacking me? Is it because I'm white? Is that it? Is this reverse racism?" The absurdity of the statement made the man in 2A snort. "Ma'am," Martha said, her voice hardening. "I need you to gather your belongings and move to 4D, now, or I will have to contact the captain." "Call the captain," Beatrice challenged. "Call the president for all I care. My husband, Preston Vandermeer, is personal friends with the CEO of this airline. If you touch me, I will sue you for assault. I will sue every single one of you." She grabbed the armrests, white-knuckled. "I am not moving." Nia looked at Martha. "I think you better call the captain." Martha nodded and turned to the cockpit phone. Nia stepped back, leaning against the bulkhead wall. She wasn't angry anymore. She was calculating. Beatrice Vandermeer had just turned a seat dispute into a federal incident. But Beatrice didn't realize who was really on the plane. The cockpit door opened. Captain James Miller emerged from the cockpit. He was a large man, ex-Air Force, with silver hair and a no-nonsense demeanor. He saw the shattered glass immediately. He saw the tension. "Problem?" Miller asked, his voice booming over the hum of the auxiliary power unit. "Captain," Martha said, "the passenger in 1A refuses to move to her assigned seat. She has become belligerent and broken glassware." Miller looked at Beatrice. "Ma'am, you need to move, now." Beatrice's eyes lit up. She thought a man would understand. She softened her posture, batting her eyelashes. "Captain, thank God, these women are being hysterical. I simply requested to stay in this seat for my sciatica. I offered to trade." "This woman," she gestured dismissively at Nia, "is blowing it out of proportion. Surely, as a man of reason, you can see that I'm settled. We don't want to delay the flight over a seat, do we?" Captain Miller looked at Nia. Nia met his gaze. She didn't say a word. She just looked at him with an intensity that cut through the cabin. Miller's eyes widened slightly. He recognized her, not from TV, but from the company newsletter, from the industry briefings. 2 weeks ago, the airline had signed a massive avionics software deal with Sterling Apex, the software that currently ran the navigation systems of the very Boeing 757 they were standing on. Nia Sterling wasn't just a passenger. She was a strategic partner who technically owned the intellectual property keeping them in the air. "Ms. Sterling," Captain Miller said, his tone shifting from authoritative to deferential. "Captain Miller," Nia nodded. "I apologize for the delay to your schedule. I simply wanted to sit in the seat I purchased." Beatrice scoffed. "Oh, great. She knows your name? What, did she sleep with you too?" The cabin gasped. Captain Miller's face went beet red. His jaw clenched. That was the line. "That is enough," Miller barked. "Madam, you have just insulted a member of my flight crew and a fellow passenger. You are interfering with flight operations." "I'm not interfering. I'm sitting," Beatrice yelled. Miller turned to Martha. "Is the jet bridge still connected?" "Yes, Captain." "Good. Ground the flight." Beatrice froze. "What?" "I am designating this aircraft as Security Threat Level 2, Captain Miller announced, his voice carrying to the economy cabin behind the curtain. "We are not going anywhere until this security issue is resolved. I want the gate agent back down here, and I want Port Authority police." "You can't ground the plane," Beatrice shrieked. "I have a gala in London. My husband—" "Your husband isn't flying this plane. I am," Miller interrupted. "And I don't fly with passengers who abuse my crew or my guests. Folks," he addressed the first-class cabin, "I apologize, but we are going to be holding here at the gate until law enforcement arrives." The groan from the passengers was audible. "You're doing this because of her?" Beatrice screamed, standing up and pointing a shaking finger at Nia. "You're grounding a transatlantic flight for this nobody?" Nia stepped forward, closing the distance between her and Beatrice. For the first time, Nia allowed a cold, dangerous smile to touch her lips. "I'm not a nobody, Mrs. Vandermeer," Nia said smoothly. "And you're right. He's not grounding the plane because of me. He's grounding it because you just committed a federal offense. I didn't touch you. Verbal assault, interference with a flight crew, destruction of property, and refusing a direct order from the pilot in command." Nia listed them off on her fingers. "That's 4 distinct felonies before we even take off." Beatrice laughed, but it sounded manic. "You think the police will arrest me? Beatrice Vandermeer? Honey, when they get here, you're the one who's going to be dragged off in handcuffs for harassment." Sirens began to wail outside on the tarmac. Blue and red lights flashed against the rainy window of seat 1A, the seat Beatrice was so desperate to keep. "We'll see," Nia whispered. 3 Port Authority officers stomped down the jet bridge, their heavy boots thudding against the metal floor. Beatrice fixed her hair, put on a smug smile, and turned to the door. "Finally! Officers, over here! I want to file a complaint against this black woman for assault." The lead officer, a massive man named Sergeant O'Malley, stepped onto the plane. He looked at the broken glass. He looked at the captain. And then he looked at Beatrice. "Which one is Vandermeer?" O'Malley asked. "That's me," Beatrice beamed. "The victim." O'Malley pulled a pair of zip ties from his belt. "Beatrice Vandermeer, please stand up and place your hands behind your back." The silence in the first-class cabin was absolute, broken only by the rhythmic flashing of the police lights reflecting off the wet tarmac outside. "Excuse me?" Beatrice Vandermeer sputtered, her face contorted in a mix of confusion and offended dignity. She looked at Sergeant O'Malley as if he were speaking a foreign language. "You're making a mistake. You're supposed to arrest her." She pointed a manicured finger at Nia. "She's the aggressor. She's the one threatening me." Sergeant O'Malley didn't blink. He was a 20-year veteran of the Port Authority Police Department. He had seen drunks, drug smugglers, and violent offenders, but nothing exhausted him quite like an entitled passenger in a blazer. "Ma'am, the captain of this aircraft has formally requested your removal," O'Malley said, his voice flat. "You have refused crew instructions. You have disrupted the operation of a commercial flight. Under 49 U.S. Code, Section 46504, that is a federal offense. Now stand up." "I will not," Beatrice screamed. She gripped the armrests of seat 1A so hard her knuckles turned white. "This is my seat. I paid for a ticket. I am Beatrice Vandermeer. My husband is Preston Vandermeer, CEO of Vandermeer Construction. Do you have any idea who you are dealing with?" "I don't care if your husband is the King of England," O'Malley said. He stepped into the pod space. "You are now trespassing. Stand up, or we will assist you." Beatrice looked around the cabin, searching for an ally. She looked at the businessmen in rows 2 and 3. "Are you just going to watch this? This is tyranny. They are dragging a woman out of her seat." The man in 2A, the one in the hoodie, held up his phone. The red recording light was steady. "Lady, you broke a glass and screamed racial slurs. You're not a victim. You're a hashtag. Smile for TikTok." Beatrice's eyes widened. The realization that she was being recorded hit her. Panic replaced arrogance. She lunged for the man's phone. "Stop filming me. You don't have my permission." "Ma'am, back up," O'Malley barked. Beatrice swung her arm back, her heavy designer tote bag hitting the officer in the chest. The atmosphere in the cabin shifted from tense to electric. Assaulting an officer. It was over. "That's it," O'Malley said. He didn't wait for permission. He grabbed Beatrice by the wrist. She shrieked, a high-pitched sound that pierced the ears of everyone on board. "Get your hands off me! Assault! Police brutality!" "Stop resisting!" the second officer shouted, moving in to secure her other arm. They hauled her out of the seat. Beatrice kicked and thrashed, her yellow blazer bunching up, her shoes falling off. She was dragged into the aisle, effectively losing her dignity in seconds. The smell of spilled champagne and expensive perfume filled the air. "My bag! My Hermes bag!" she screamed as they marched her toward the door. Chloe, the flight attendant, quietly picked up the bag and handed it to the third officer. "Here you go." As they dragged Beatrice past the galley where Naya was standing, Beatrice dug her heels into the carpet. She stopped, panting, her hair wild, her makeup smeared. She glared at Nia with pure, unadulterated hatred. "You did this," Beatrice hissed. "You ruined my life. I will sue you for everything you have. I will find out who you work for, and I will have you fired. You'll be begging for change on the street when I'm done with you." Nia Sterling looked down at the woman. She didn't look angry anymore. She looked disappointed. "Beatrice," Nia said softly, "you still don't get it." Nia reached into her trench coat pocket and pulled out a business card. It was heavy stock, black with gold embossing. She tucked it into the pocket of Beatrice's yellow blazer. "My name is Nia Sterling, CEO of Sterling Apex Logistics." Beatrice froze. The color drained from her face so fast she looked like a ghost. "Sterling? Apex?" Beatrice whispered. "Yes," Nia continued calmly. "The company that currently holds the exclusive shipping contract for Vandermeer Construction's steel imports. The contract your husband, Preston, has been begging to renew for 3 months. The silence that followed was louder than the screaming had been. "I'm going to make a phone call now, Beatrice," Nia said, her voice cool as ice. "Enjoy your night in jail." "No," Beatrice gasped. "No, please, wait, I didn't know. Let's talk about this." "Get her off my plane," Captain Miller ordered from the cockpit door. "No, Nia! Miss Sterling!" Beatrice screamed as the officers yanked her forward. "I'm sorry. Please, don't call him. Don't call him." Her screams faded as she was dragged up the jet bridge. The cabin erupted into applause. The door to the aircraft closed. The chaotic energy began to settle, replaced by a hum of adrenaline. "Ladies and gentlemen," Captain Miller's voice came over the intercom, sounding relieved. "We apologize for that disturbance. We are going to push back in approximately 10 minutes once we get a new slot from the tower. Drinks are on the house for the duration of the flight." A cheer went up. Naya finally sat down in seat 1A. It was damp with champagne, but Chloe had already placed a thick blanket over the wet spot. "Miss Sterling," Chloe whispered, placing a fresh glass of Dom Perignon on the console. "Thank you, and I am so sorry." "It's not your fault, Chloe," Nia smiled. "You handled it well." Nia took a sip of the champagne. Then she pulled out her phone. She wasn't done. The adrenaline was still pumping, and she had a loose end to tie up. She dialed a number from her personal contacts. It rang twice. "Nia," a male voice answered, sounding eager and slightly out of breath. "I wasn't expecting to hear from you until you landed in London. To what do I owe the pleasure? Have you looked at the renewal proposal?" It was Preston Vandermeer. "Hello, Preston," Nia said, her voice devoid of warmth. "Is everything all right?" Preston asked, sensing the shift in her tone. "You sound intense." "I'm currently sitting on the tarmac at JFK, Preston, flight 492. I was delayed about 45 minutes. "Oh, that's unfortunate. Weather?" "No." "A passenger," Nia said, looking out the window at the rain. "A passenger who assaulted the crew, hurled racial slurs at me, and attempted to physically remove me from my seat because she believed she was more entitled to it than I was." "My God," Preston said, sounding genuinely shocked. "That's horrific. People are animals these days. I hope security took care of it." "They did," Nia said. "She was just arrested. She was screaming your name as they dragged her off. She said she's your wife." There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. "Beatrice." Preston's voice was a whisper. "Beatrice," Nia confirmed. "She told the entire cabin that you built this airport. She told the flight attendants she would have them fired because of your influence. And she told me, specifically me, that I was a diversity hire who belonged in coach." "Nia," Preston stammered. "Nia, please." She has a drinking problem. She takes pills. She doesn't know who you are. I will make her apologize. I will send a letter. Please don't let this affect our business. We've been partners for 5 years. "Partnerships are built on respect, Preston," Nia said, swirling her glass. "And frankly, if that is how your wife treats strangers, I have to wonder what kind of culture you cultivate at Vandermeer Construction. I don't do business with bigots, and I certainly don't enrich families that abuse my staff or me." "Nia, wait. We have $400 million in steel sitting in your Rotterdam warehouse. If you pull the contract, we go under. We default on the Manhattan project. You can't do this over a seat assignment." "It wasn't just a seat, Preston. It was my dignity. And you can put a price on steel, but you can't put a price on that." Nia signaled Chloe to close the sliding door of her suite. "The contract is terminated, effective immediately. My legal team will send over the breach of conduct clause in the morning. I suggest you use that money to bail out your wife. She's going to need a very good lawyer." "Nia! Nia!" Nia tapped the red end call button. She put her phone on airplane mode. She reclined the seat, closed her eyes, and for the first time in 3 days, she breathed easy. The engines roared to life, and the plane began to move, while Nia Sterling slept peacefully in a lay-flat bed at 35,000 feet. The world below was waking up to the destruction of Beatrice Vandermeer. The man in seat 2A, a tech YouTuber named Jackson Tech, with 12 million subscribers, had not been idle. He hadn't just recorded a snippet. He had recorded the entire interaction in 4K resolution. He edited the footage while the plane was still taxiing, adding subtitles to ensure every slur and every entitled demand was crystal clear. He titled the video, "First Class Karen vs. Black Woman, CEO, She Gets Arrested." He hit upload just as the plane pushed back. By the time the wheels of Flight 492 left the tarmac, the video had 50,000 views. By the time the plane reached cruising altitude, it was the #1 trending topic on Twitter, X, TikTok, and Reddit. The internet is a cruel and efficient judge, and the verdict was immediate. Inside the cold, fluorescent-lit holding cell at the Port Authority precinct, Beatrice sat on a steel bench. Her canary-yellow blazer was wrinkled, her feet were sore without her shoes, which had been bagged as evidence, and her mascara was running in dark streaks down her face. She was stripped of her phone, her dignity, and her mimosa. She was allowed one phone call. Naturally, she dialed Preston. It rang, and rang, and rang. "Pick up," she hissed, tapping her foot nervously against the concrete floor. "Pick up, you idiot. I need a lawyer." Finally, on the 6th ring, the call connected. But it wasn't Preston's voice. It was his personal attorney, Marcus Thorne. "Mrs. Vandermeer." Thorne's voice was clipped, professional, and devoid of warmth. "Preston cannot come to the phone right now. He is managing a crisis." "Crisis?" Beatrice shrieked, her voice echoing off the cinder-block walls. "I am in a jail cell. I am the crisis. Tell him to get down here with bail money. These people treated me like a common criminal." "You are a criminal, Beatrice," Thorne said, dropping the honorifics. "Have you seen the internet? Do you have any idea what you have done?" "I had a dispute over a seat." "You insulted Nia Sterling," Thorne snapped. "Do you know what the stock ticker for Vandermeer Construction is doing right now? It's in free fall. We have lost 14% of our market cap in 3 hours. That is $60 million, Beatrice. Gone. Because you couldn't sit in row 4. Beatrice felt a cold knot form in her stomach. He's worried about the money. He's worried about survival. The board of directors has called an emergency meeting. They are calling for his resignation unless he distances himself from the toxic element. That element is you. The line went dead. The next 48 hours were a blur of humiliation. Beatrice was arraigned the next morning. The judge, a stern woman who had clearly seen the video, set bail at an exorbitant $50,000, citing Beatrice as a flight risk due to her international connections. When Beatrice finally walked out of the precinct, shielding her face with her handbag, she expected a car service. Instead, she was met by a wall of paparazzi flashbulbs. "Beatrice! Beatrice! Do you really think black people belong in Coach? Mrs. Vandermeer, is it true your husband is firing you? How does it feel to be the most hated woman in America?" She pushed through the crowd, desperate for a taxi. No one would stop for her. She had to walk 4 blocks in the rain before an Uber finally accepted her ride. And even then, the driver gave her a 1-star rating the moment she got out. But the real devastation was waiting for her at home, or rather, at the gates of the Vandermeer estate in Greenwich. When the Uber pulled up to the wrought iron gates, Beatrice punched in the code. Nothing happened. She punched it in again. "Access denied." She buzzed the intercom. "Preston, it's me. The gate is broken." The speaker crackled. It wasn't Preston. It was a private security guard she didn't recognize. "Mrs. Vandermeer, you are not permitted on the premises." "Excuse me?" Beatrice laughed, a manic, high-pitched sound. "I live here. My name is on the deed." "Not anymore, ma'am." the guard replied. Mr. Vandermeer filed an emergency injunction this morning. You are barred from the property. Your personal effects have been packed and sent to the Marriott in downtown Stamford. Room 304 has been paid for through the end of the week. You can't do this, Beatrice screamed, shaking the iron bars of the gate. I need my clothes. I need my jewelry. Please step away from the gate, or I will call the police. Again! Defeated, Beatrice sank to her knees on the wet pavement. Her phone, which she had finally retrieved from police custody, began to buzz. It wasn't texts of support. It was notifications of her life dismantling itself, one email at a time. From the Hamptons Beach Club. Subject, membership termination. Effective immediately, the board has voted to revoke your membership under Article 4, conduct unbecoming. From Amex Platinum Concierge. Subject, account suspended. Primary card holder, Preston Vandermeer, has removed you as an authorized user. From Charity Gala Committee. Subject, uninvitation. In light of recent events, your presence at the autumn ball would be a distraction. But the killing blow came from the business world. Nia Sterling didn't just make idle threats. At 9 a.m. sharp, while Beatrice was being arraigned, Sterling Apex Logistics officially exercised the morality clause in their contract with Vandermeer Construction. The email was leaked to the press within the hour. It was brief, brutal, and professional. Sterling Apex Logistics refuses to partner with entities that harbor or enable racial discrimination and harassment. As the actions of the CEO's spouse reflect upon the leadership of Vandermeer Construction, we are terminating the $400 million steel supply agreement effective immediately. All cargo currently in transit has been halted at Rotterdam. The ripple effect was catastrophic. Without that steel, Preston couldn't build the Hudson Tower. Without the tower, he defaulted on his bank loans. The banks, seeing the viral video and the cancelled contract, froze the company's credit lines. By Friday afternoon, Preston Vandermeer wasn't just embarrassed. He was fighting off bankruptcy, and he needed a scapegoat. Beatrice was sitting on the edge of the bed in the generic Marriott hotel room, watching CNN. The headline on the screen read, "Sky Rage, How One Woman Grounded a Flight and Crashed a Stock." There was a knock at the door. Beatrice jumped up, smoothing her wrinkled clothes. "Preston," she whispered, a flicker of hope igniting. "Did you come to get me?" She opened the door. It wasn't Preston. It was a process server, a short, balding man with a stack of papers. "Beatrice Vandermeer?" "Yes, you've been served." He handed her a thick envelope and walked away. Beatrice opened it with trembling hands. Petition for divorce. Plaintiff, Preston Vandermeer. Defendant, Beatrice Vandermeer. Grounds, irreconcilable differences, adultery, contested, and gross reputational damage. He wasn't just leaving her. He was suing her. He was freezing her assets. He was throwing her to the wolves to save his own skin. Beatrice dropped the papers. She fell back onto the cheap hotel carpet, the sound of the news anchor discussing her racist meltdown filling the small room. She curled into a ball. The karma hadn't just hit, it had steamrolled her. She had wanted the first-class seat so badly, she had been willing to destroy a stranger to get it. Now, she didn't even have a seat at her own dinner table. The silence in the room was heavy, broken only by the realization that for the first time in her life, Beatrice Vandermeer was truly, completely alone. 6 months had passed since Flight 492 was grounded at JFK. The world had moved on to new viral videos and new scandals, but for Beatrice Vandermeer, time had stopped the moment the handcuffs clicked around her wrists. The setting for the final act wasn't a courtroom, but a place far more intimidating. The 42nd floor of the Sterling Apex headquarters in downtown Manhattan. The conference room was a fortress of glass and steel, offering a panoramic view of the city, a city Beatrice used to think she owned, but which now looked like a maze she was trapped in. Beatrice sat on one side of the massive mahogany table. The chair was Italian leather, worth more than the car she now drove, but she couldn't get comfortable. She was sweating. She looked nothing like the woman in the canary yellow blazer who had terrorized a flight crew. That woman was dead. The Beatrice sitting here was a ghost. Her hair, once a chemically perfect helmet of blonde, was now pulled back into a severe, messy bun with distinct streaks of grey showing at the roots. She wasn't wearing designer labels. She was wearing a charcoal grey suit from a discount rack, one that didn't fit quite right in the shoulders. Her hands, devoid of the diamond rings that used to weigh them down, were shaking uncontrollably in her lap. Next to her sat Mr. Henderson, a court-appointed public defender who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. He was out of his depth, and he knew it. He kept checking his watch, nervously shuffling papers that contained the grim reality of Beatrice's life. "She's 10 minutes late," Beatrice whispered, her voice raspy. "She's doing this on purpose. She wants me to sweat." "Quiet, Mrs. Miller," Henderson hissed, using her maiden name. Beatrice flinched. She hated that name. It sounded like poverty. "You are in no position to complain about punctuality. We are here at her mercy. Remember that." Beatrice bit her lip. The divorce had been swift and brutal. Preston Vandermeer hadn't just left her. He had incinerated her to save himself. To protect the stock price of Vandermeer Construction, Preston had issued a public statement condemning her behavior as abhorrent and unrepresentative of our family values. He had testified against her in the preliminary hearings. He had activated the infidelity clause in their prenuptial agreement, citing a vague emotional affair she'd had years ago, to strip her of alimony. She was left with nothing. No penthouse, no Hamptons estate, no black card, just a small settlement that had already been devoured by legal fees and the massive FAA fines. She was living in a studio apartment in Queens, taking the subway, and working as a receptionist at a dental office where people recognized her from the viral video and whispered behind her back. The double doors at the end of the room opened with a heavy thud. The air in the room seemed to be sucked out. Nia Sterling walked in. She didn't look tired. She didn't look stressed. She looked like a titan. Nia wore a cream-colored power suit that was tailored to perfection, her hair in long, sleek braids. She didn't carry a bag. She carried an aura of absolute authority. Flanking her were two men in sharp blue suits, her corporate counsel. They looked like sharks scenting blood. Nia didn't say hello. She walked to the head of the table, pulled out the chair, and sat down. She placed a single file folder on the mahogany surface. She let the silence stretch. It was agonizing. She looked Beatrice in the eyes, really looked at her, for the first time since that night on the plane. "You look different, Beatrice," Nia said. Her voice wasn't mocking. It was clinically observant. Beatrice swallowed hard, tears instantly pricking her eyes. I've had a hard year." "Have you?" Nia asked, arching a brow. "I would argue you've had a year of accountability. There is a difference." Mr. Henderson cleared his throat, trying to assert some presence. "Miss Sterling, thank you for agreeing to meet. We are here to discuss the pending civil litigation regarding the reputational damages to Sterling Apex Logistics. As you know, my client has already pleaded guilty to the federal charges. She has paid the fines to the airline. She is currently serving probation." "I am aware," Nia said, not looking at the lawyer. She kept her eyes on Beatrice. "I read the report. You pleaded guilty to interference with a flight crew to avoid prison time. You got 3 years of probation and a lifetime ban on every major US airline. You can't fly to London anymore, Beatrice. You can't fly anywhere." "I know," Beatrice whispered, looking down at her hands. "I can't visit my daughter in Paris. I can't go to my sister's wedding in Aspen. I'm grounded. Permanently." "Actions," Naya said softly, "have consequences." "Ms. Sterling," Henderson interjected again, desperate. "My client is destitute. The divorce left her with next to nothing. If you proceed with this civil suit for $5 million in damages, you will bankrupt her completely. She will be homeless. We are asking, begging, for mercy. Not because she deserves it, but because there is no blood left to squeeze from this stone." Nia turned her gaze to the window, looking out at the grey skyline. "You know, Beatrice, when I sat in that seat 1A, all I wanted was silence. I had just finished a 72-hour negotiation. I was tired. I just wanted to go home." She turned back to Beatrice. "You looked at me, and you didn't see a CEO. You didn't see a human being. You saw a color. You saw a stereotype. You told me I belonged in the back. You tried to weaponize the police against me. Do you know how dangerous that is? Do you know what happens when people like you lie to the police about people like me?" Beatrice began to sob. It wasn't the fake, performative crying from the plane. This was the ugly, heaving sobbing of a broken woman. "I'm sorry. I am so, so sorry. I was drunk. I was stupid. I was arrogant. I thought I was untouchable." "You thought you were better," Naya corrected. "Yes," Beatrice admitted, her voice a croak. "I thought I was better. And I was wrong. Look at me now. I'm nobody. Preston took everything. My friends won't take my calls. I eat dinner alone on a mattress on the floor. Please, Ms. Sterling, if you sue me, I'll be on the street. Please don't destroy me." Nia watched her cry. The room was silent, except for Beatrice's jagged breathing. The corporate lawyers looked at Naya, waiting for the signal to drop the hammer. Nia opened the folder in front of her. "I spoke to Preston yesterday," Naya said. Beatrice's head snapped up. "You did?" "He called, begging for the contract back. He's hemorrhaging money. He tried to bond with me. He told me that divorcing you was his way of cleaning house. He called you a liability." Beatrice flinched as if she'd been slapped. "He loved me," she whispered. "Before the money. He loved me." "He loves himself, Beatrice," Naya said. "I told him that Sterling Apex doesn't do business with cowards who scapegoat their wives to save a stock price. The contract stays cancelled. He's likely going to lose the company within the year." A flicker of shock crossed Beatrice's face. Nia had destroyed Preston too. "But that brings us to you," Nia continued. She slid a piece of paper across the vast table. It stopped right in front of Beatrice's shaking hands. "What is this?" Beatrice asked. "That," Nia said, "is a withdrawal of the civil lawsuit. Sterling Apex is dropping the claim for $5 million. Beatrice stared at the paper. She couldn't breathe. You're dropping it?" "I am." Mr. Henderson let out a breath that sounded like a deflating tire. "Oh, thank God. Thank you, Ms. Sterling. Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Nia said sharply. "I'm not doing this for you, and I'm certainly not doing it because I feel bad for you." Nia leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. The power dynamic shifted again. This wasn't mercy. It was a transaction. "I am dropping the lawsuit on one condition. It is non-negotiable. If you refuse, my lawyers will file the papers by 5 p.m. today, and we will take every cent you earn for the rest of your life." "Anything," Beatrice said, wiping her face with her sleeve. "I'll do anything." You are currently working as a receptionist, Nia noted. Yes. You're going to quit. Beatrice blinked. But I need the money. You are going to quit, Nia repeated, and you are going to come work for me. The room went dead silent. Even Nia's own lawyers looked surprised. Work? For you? Beatrice stammered. I don't understand. You want me to work here? No. Nia laughed, a dry, humorless sound. You aren't qualified to work in this building, Beatrice. You are going to work for the Sterling Foundation, specifically the Pathways program. Nia tapped the table. It's a mentorship program for young, minority women from underfunded districts. Women who are brilliant, ambitious, and fighting against a world that tells them they don't belong. Women who look exactly like I did when I was starting out. Beatrice stared at her, confused. You want me to mentor them? God, no, Nia said. You have nothing to teach them about success. I want you to serve them. Nia stood up, walking over to the window and looking out at the city. Your job will be administrative support. You will make their coffee. You will schedule their interviews. You will book their travel in economy class. You will ensure they have everything they need to succeed. You will be the invisible help that allows these young black and brown women to rise. Nia turned back, her silhouette framed by the bright light of the city. You spent your life thinking people like me were beneath you. For the next 2 years, that is the term of this agreement, you will spend every day supporting the very people you despised. You will look them in the eye. You will learn their names, and you will watch them surpass you. Beatrice sat there, processing the punishment. It wasn't jail. It wasn't bankruptcy. It was forced humility. It was a daily confrontation with her own prejudice. And if you treat any of them with disrespect, Nia added, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, if you so much as roll your eyes at them, I will reinstate the lawsuit, and I will bury you. Do we have a deal? Beatrice looked at the woman who held her life in her hands. She thought about the last 6 months, the loneliness, the anger, the crushing fall from grace. Then she thought about the offer. It was a chance to survive. But more than that, she realized with a jolt, it was a chance to be human again. Slowly, Beatrice picked up the pen. Her hand was still shaking, but she pressed the tip to the paper. I understand, Beatrice whispered. I accept. She signed her name. Beatrice Miller. Nia nodded to her lawyers. They collected the papers. Report to the community center in Harlem on Monday at 8:15 a.m., Nia said. Don't be late. And Beatrice? Beatrice looked up, clutching her cheap purse. Yes? Wear comfortable shoes, Nia said, a faint, ironic smile touching her lips. You're going to be on your feet all day. No one sits in the first-class seat on their first day. Beatrice lowered her head. A flush of shame, hot and prickly, rose up her neck. Thank you, Nia. Ms. Sterling. Beatrice stood up. She looked smaller than she ever had, but for the first time she looked real. She walked to the door, Mr. Henderson trailing behind her. As she grabbed the handle, she paused and looked back at the glass office, at the luxury she used to think was her birthright. She realized she would never have it again. She walked out, and the heavy doors clicked shut. Nia Sterling stood alone in the conference room. She didn't gloat. She didn't cheer. She simply took a deep breath, checked her watch, and tapped her earpiece. Chloe, she said into the phone. Yes, Ms. Sterling, came the voice of her executive assistant, the former flight attendant she had hired away from the airline 2 months ago. Is the car ready? Waiting downstairs. You have a flight to Tokyo in 3 hours. Good, Nia said. And Chloe? Make sure we're in seat 1A. Always, boss. Nia grabbed her coat, She walked out of the boardroom, her heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor, echoing like the ticking of a clock. Outside, the sun had broken through the clouds, bathing New York City in a golden light. Beatrice Vandermeer had learned the hardest lesson of all. The world is a small place, and the toes you step on today might be connected to the ass you have to kiss tomorrow. But for Nia Sterling, it wasn't about revenge. It was about balance, and as she headed toward the elevator, ascending toward the sky once again, the balance felt perfectly, beautifully restored. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you handle a Karen. Beatrice thought her husband's name and a first-class ticket gave her the right to dehumanize someone. She found out that true power doesn't scream, it acts. She lost her fortune, her marriage, and her pride. But in a twist of fate, she was forced to serve the very community she looked down on. It's a brutal lesson in karma. Never judge someone by their appearance, because you never know who is really holding the keys to your future. Nia Sterling didn't just win the seat, she won the war,